The Sterling Tower's grand lobby sparkled with Manhattan opulence as I walked through the revolving doors, my heels clicking softly on the imported marble floors. My father's 60th birthday celebration was exactly what you'd expect from the Sterling family: excessive displays of wealth, carefully curated guest lists, and enough corporate politics to fill a Netflix drama. I smoothed down my understated Chanel dress, worth more than my sister Katherine's monthly salary, though she'd never recognize the difference between true luxury and flash. The security guard, James, gave me a subtle nod as I passed. He was one of the few who knew my true identity as the owner of not just Sterling Tower, but half of Manhattan's prime real estate. "Oh, look who decided to grace us with her presence," Katherine's voice carried across the lobby with practiced disdain. The receptionist actually dressed up for once. If she only knew that Harrison Support Services, my supposed employer, was actually a shell company for Harrison Global Properties, one of the largest real estate empires in the world. While she bragged about her middle management position at our father's company, I'd spent the last 7 years quietly acquiring buildings across the city. "Someone has to answer the phones," I replied mildly, accepting a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. A champagne I'd personally selected from my private collection, though none of them knew that either. "At least you know your place," Katherine smirked, adjusting her obviously new Cartier bracelet. "Though you might want to stick to water. This champagne probably costs more than your monthly rent." I sipped the Dom Perignon rose gold, thinking about the penthouse I owned at the top of this very building. The one that made Katherine's luxury condo look like student housing. "Emily." My stepmother Victoria's voice cut through the crowd. "Darling, we put you at the service entrance desk. You can help direct the catering staff." Of course they had. Heaven forbid the failed Sterling daughter be seen among Manhattan's elite. If they only knew I owned most of the buildings these people worked in. "Perfect," I smiled, watching Victoria's expensive Botox struggle to maintain her confused expression. She'd expected protest or embarrassment, not calm acceptance. My phone buzzed discreetly, a message from my real assistant. "Board meeting confirmed for 9 p.m. Members eager to discuss the Morgan acquisition." Yes, the Morgan acquisition. My father's company had been trying to buy Morgan Properties for months. They didn't know that Harrison Global had already closed the deal yesterday. Tomorrow's announcement would shake Manhattan's real estate world to its core. "Still carrying that old phone?" Katherine noted with practiced sympathy. "I suppose on your salary, upgrades are difficult." The old phone was actually a custom-secured device worth more than her car, but I simply nodded. Let them think what they wanted. In less than 12 hours their whole world would shift dramatically. The massive screens around the lobby displayed various business news channels, all speculating about the mysterious buyer of Morgan Properties. The biggest real estate deal of the year, and nobody knew who was behind it. "Such a shame about Morgan Properties," my father's voice boomed as he approached our group. "Thomas Morgan should have accepted my offer. Now some unknown upstart has taken it." I hid my smile behind my champagne glass. "Perhaps they saw potential you missed." "Please," Katherine scoffed. "What would you know about real estate potential? You can barely afford your rent-controlled apartment." If she only knew that I owned her building. That every rent check she proudly wrote went straight to one of my companies. The party continued in its predictable pattern. Katherine held court near the center of the room, bragging about deals she'd barely been involved in. Victoria fluttered between groups, dropping hints about their Hamptons vacation home, the one they could barely afford anymore. And my father, Robert Sterling, dominated every conversation with his increasingly desperate attempts to maintain his image as Manhattan's real estate king. None of them had noticed the subtle changes in their world. How their most reliable investors had quietly withdrawn. How their best properties had been acquired by mysterious companies. How their empire had been slowly, systematically surrounded by mine. "Miss Harrison?" James, the security chief, approached with perfect timing. "There's a situation that requires your attention." Katherine waved him off dismissively. "She's not important enough to handle any real situations. Find a proper manager." James met my eyes, the slightest smile playing at his lips. "I apologize, but Miss Harrison's authorization is specifically required. It concerns the board meeting in her tower." The silence that followed was exquisite. Katherine's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Victoria's carefully maintained smile froze. And my father, for the first time in years, actually looked at me. Really looked at me. Her tower, he whispered. I stood slowly, smoothing my dress. Thank you, James. Please inform the board members I'll be there shortly. And have someone clean up that champagne, it's too expensive to waste. The stunned silence that had fallen over the lobby shattered as Katherine found her voice. This is some kind of joke, she declared, though her perfectly maintained confidence wavered. You're a receptionist. You answer phones. Actually, I gestured to the Sterling Tower's soaring atrium. I own this building. Along with about 30 others in Manhattan. The reception job was just a convenient cover. Victoria stepped forward, her socialite mask cracking. Impossible. The tower belongs to Harrison Global. They bought it last year. Yes, I smiled. We did. Would you like to see the portfolio? I nodded to James, who began distributing elegant leather folders to the assembled guests. The screens around the lobby switched to a carefully prepared presentation, displaying Harrison Global Properties' extensive holdings across Manhattan. Sterling Tower acquired in 2024, I narrated as the images changed. The Morgan Building on Fifth Avenue, purchased last month. The entire Wellington complex in Midtown, which we bought from your company last year, though you thought you were selling to a Chinese investment group. My father's face had lost all color. The Wellington complex? But that was our flagship property. Yes, and you sold it for 30% below market value because Katherine convinced you the market was dropping. I turned to my sister. By the way, those market analysis reports you relied on? My team created them. Katherine stumbled backward, grabbing a chair for support. No, that's not. I would have known. Would you? I pressed a button on my phone and the screens displayed more properties. Like you knew who bought your condo building last year? Or who acquired the Hamptons estate next to your vacation home? The one Victoria's been trying to get invited to all summer. Victoria's hand flew to her throat. You own the Wellington estate? Along with most of that coastline now. I checked my phone as another message came in. Including as of an hour ago your beach house. The bank was quite happy to accept my offer after they reviewed your latest mortgage application. The lobby had become absolutely silent, Manhattan's elite watching this family drama unfold with barely concealed fascination. My father, once the undisputed king of New York real estate, looked suddenly old and small. How? He whispered. Where did you get the resources, the expertise? Remember when you said I needed to learn the business from the ground up? I moved to the center of the room, taking control of the presentation. That's exactly what I did. While Katherine was hosting cocktail parties with developers, I was studying market patterns. When Victoria suggested I work as a receptionist to understand my place, I used that position to learn every detail of how buildings really operate. The screens showed Harrison Global's true scope. Billions in assets, revolutionary property management systems, and a reputation for excellence that had made us the most sought-after landlord in the city. Each time you dismissed my suggestions about sustainable building practices or tenant-focused improvements, I implemented them in my own properties. While you were forcing Katherine into a role she wasn't equipped for, I was building something bigger. Something better. My phone buzzed again. The Wall Street Journal requesting comment on tomorrow's Morgan Properties announcement. Perfect timing. Your little hobby, Katherine said weakly. The real estate courses you were taking at night were advanced studies in urban development and sustainable architecture, I confirmed. Paid for by the profits from my first property acquisition, a small building in Brooklyn that you told Dad was worthless. The screens now showed that worthless building, transformed into one of the city's most successful mixed-use developments. But the connections needed. Victoria protested. The old money relationships. You mean like the Ashworths? The Vanderkamps? The families you've been desperately trying to impress. I smiled. They've been my investment partners for years. Turns out old money appreciates new ideas when they're backed by solid business plans. My father finally found his voice again. The Morgan acquisition. That was you? All of it, I confirmed. While you were offering lowball deals and hostile takeover threats, I was presenting a vision for the future. Sustainable buildings, community-focused development, profit sharing with tenants. Everything you dismissed as naive and unbusinesslike. The screens displayed the Morgan Properties transformation plan, my vision for turning their aging buildings into models of modern urban development. Your father built this company from nothing, Victoria said, trying one last time to maintain control. You can't just come in and... Actually, I built something bigger than he ever imagined, I interrupted. Without his name, without his connections, without his outdated methods. And I did it while you all thought I was answering phones. The next hour transformed my father's birthday celebration into something entirely different. Manhattan's real estate elite, suddenly realizing they were in the presence of the mysterious force that had been reshaping their world, began gravitating toward me instead of Katherine. Ms. Harrison, Thomas Wellington approached, his earlier condescension replaced with eager respect. I had no idea you were behind the Innovation District project. Simply brilliant. The same innovation district you rejected when I proposed it 3 years ago? I reminded him gently. When I was just a receptionist, with unrealistic ideas? My phone buzzed continuously now, messages from developers, investors, and media outlets all wanting to discuss Harrison Global's emergence. The screens around the lobby displayed real-time updates as news of my identity spread through the business world. Mystery real estate mogul revealed. Emily Harrison's secret empire. How one woman revolutionized Manhattan property development. From reception desk to real estate queen. The Emily Harrison story. Katherine, still struggling to process the revelation, grabbed one of the portfolios. These sustainability awards, these tenant satisfaction ratings, they're all for your properties? Every single one, I confirmed. Including the building where you've been bragging about your exclusive penthouse apartment. By the way, your rent is due next week. My father sat heavily in one of the lobby's custom-designed chairs, another of my additions to the building. The modernization projects we've been trying to compete with. The community development initiatives that kept winning contracts. All Harrison Global, I nodded. While you were focused on luxury condos and high-end retail, I was creating mixed-use spaces that actually served communities. Affordable housing alongside market-rate units. Green spaces. Local business incubators. The screens showed aerial views of my properties across Manhattan. Where the Sterling approach had created islands of wealth, my developments had fostered thriving neighborhoods. But the capital required. Victoria sputtered. The Sterling fortune is tied up in Robert's companies. I didn't use the Sterling fortune, I replied calmly. I found investors who appreciated my vision of sustainable, community-focused development. People who understood that real estate isn't just about buildings. It's about building communities. James approached again, this time with an elderly gentleman I knew well. Ms. Harrison, Mr. Vanderkamp insisted on offering his congratulations personally. Katherine's jaw dropped. The Vanderkamps were Manhattan royalty, the kind of old money her social climbing efforts had never managed to reach. Emily, my dear, Edward Vanderkamp smiled warmly. I think it's time we told them about the foundation, don't you? I nodded, signaling James to update the presentation. The screens filled with images of the Harrison Global Foundation's initiatives, scholarship programs for underprivileged students, affordable housing projects, small business support programs. You see, I addressed my stunned family, while you were chasing status, I was creating change. Every property we acquire includes affordable units. Every development supports local businesses. Every project employs sustainable practices. This will bankrupt you, my father protested weakly. The market won't support. Actually, Edward interrupted, Harrison Global's returns are the highest in the industry. Turns out doing good is good business. The screens displayed our financial data, record-breaking occupancy rates, unprecedented tenant retention, and profit margins that made traditional real estate development look obsolete. The Morgan acquisition, I continued, isn't just about adding more buildings to our portfolio. It's about transforming them into something better. Solar panels on every roof. Green spaces in every building. Job training programs for local residents. My phone buzzed with another message. The mayor's office requesting a meeting about expanding the Innovation District concept citywide. The transformation was spreading faster than even I had anticipated. What happens now? Katherine asked quietly, her usual confidence completely evaporated. Now. I smiled, bringing up plans for our next phase. We change everything. Every building becomes energy efficient. Every development serves its community. Every project creates opportunities, not just profits. Victoria stirred, her social instincts kicking in. Perhaps we should discuss this as a family. Family. I turned to her. Like when you banned me from social events for embarrassing you. When you told the Ashworths I was, unfortunately, unstable, because I suggested affordable housing in luxury buildings. I was wrong, my father said suddenly, his voice rough. About everything. Your mother. She always said you saw things differently. She taught me that success isn't measured in square footage or sale prices, I replied. It's measured in lives improved, communities strengthened, futures brightened. The evening crowds had begun filling the streets below, people heading home to the very buildings I owned. But unlike my father's tenants, mine lived in spaces designed to foster community, not just collect rent. Tomorrow, I announced to the room, Harrison Global launches its most ambitious project yet. We're transforming every property we own into a model of sustainable urban living. Solar power. Green spaces. Community centers. Everything you all said was impossible.